who are supplying additional things. We're talking about the kind of industrial industries like power generation, whether it's an 850 megawatt supercritical coal-fired once through. That's probably not going to be grassroots these days. That might be a modernization or an optimization. You could have within that power, a aeroderivative turbine, a jet engine tied to a generator, plus waste heat boiler, so that now all of a sudden you're taking as much advantage. Anything like that, whether it's existing, which again would be a modernization to improve it, or if you're going to add another group of pieces of equipment, another train, as it were. So that's power. Similarly, water treatment, wastewater treatment facilities, food and beverage, petrochemical refining, mining and metals. Not so much the actual mouth of the mine, but from the grinding, crushing, grinding, flotation, which is called a concentrator. And then, although there aren't many left on the planet anymore, the smelter as well. So from a concentration standpoint and a smelting perspective also fits. I've certainly done both of those. Everything I'm talking about, I've already done probably a number of them. Biotech, renewables. When we talk about renewables, generally what I'm talking about that applies here would be the landfill gas to pipeline quality gas. That's one part of renewables that suits this very well and has struggles being implemented. And then also the digester side, so the dairy side. And don't worry if those things don't mean anything to you. That's more specific if you understand that domain. And then semiconductor is another one. And basically any process, industrial process, there can be challenges because you've got all these different elements. And so what I want to go through from there is the indicators on where you would see issues and how they would manifest themselves. So marketing and sales, generating a pipeline full of ambiguous scope and contracts. So that's where we start, right? The expectations weren't what the client had, and we didn't realize that because we started filling a pipeline. We were happy with that. But by the time we realized there was issues, we've got a full pipeline of a bunch of these same problems. There is ambiguous or poorly scoped sales contract handoff to the project execution team. So all of a sudden, what got sold was nice and rosy, and now the execution team is receiving it, and in the kickoff with the client there, the antagonistic relationship begins, because now each member of the project is trying to defend and protect themselves. Yes, there's a contract, and then there's going to be a bunch of third-party contracts or subcontracts that are associated with the main contract to be totally integrated by you, the solutions provider. And so when we start talking about all those things, that's where we come into with all of the different places that you could have these landmines that'll go off at any moment, and we need to avoid that. The consistent disconnects between the project team and the client expectations. If you tend to see that, right, things are getting bubbled up to the VP level, and then the VP wants to come into the C-suite and say, hey, we got some issues at this site. And all of a sudden you start noticing these are repetitive, right? And that's the thing. If it's just a one-off on a job, it could be a relationship issue, it could be a technical issue, but by and large, it's when you start noticing there's a pattern. And like I said, the ever-growing accounts receivable, because of the deteriorating and antagonistic client relationship, they're slow paying, but they may have a right to, because things didn't get done very well. Things weren't shipped right. There were no FATs done, things like that. the frequent forced third-party deliverables to be shipped to meet milestone payments. Massive issue. This is pervasive in any of these types of field-based projects that need to have a commissioning and startup element. You're trying to make your money and keep your profit margins, and you've tied it to the delivery of some skids. The problem is you're forcing those to be shipped before they're even complete. And they're certainly not going to be FAT'd because you're desperate for the cash flow on the particular project. So herein lies probably the second level of the issue. You're shipping things that you know aren't going to work. You know that they're not complete. They're probably not even completely engineered yet. And now they're on site. Now they're on site early because the project is probably getting more and more delayed. So now they're sitting there. If it's rotating equipment, it's not being rotated just a little bit. So you could end up with flat spots on bearings, things like that. More and more is creeping in of ugliness. And again, you're focused at the board and C-suite level of the revenue recognition. But on the project execution side, you are shipping hunks of junk out to the site and you're shining it on to recognize that revenue. Well, from there, you end up with unprepared and unqualified field commissioning teams because the job hasn't been completely designed yet, but everything's been shipped to site. So now all of a sudden, the people on site who are also supposed to be working to recognize more revenue with another milestone payment are trying to finish the design because the project team hasn't gotten there yet. And nobody's FAT'd those pieces of equipment that have been shipped to site. Compressors, things like that. H2S removal systems, really doesn't matter what it is. They're getting there, they're not prepared. The wiring's not right, the piping's not right, etc. And now that burden has been pushed forward to the field commissioning crew. And so, of course, they don't know what they're doing. They don't have drawings. So it's a mess there. The client representative is seeing this, witnessing it, hearing it on site. And so, again, things are getting more and more challenging to recognize the revenue. And now, all of a sudden, the client relationship may be at risk. From there, you've got the performance test. And now, all of a sudden, it's a pretty tenuous thing because you're not sure if you're going to be able to hit these performance objectives to get the next milestone payment because everything that's been done hasn't been. And you're just trying to put this thing together with chewing gum and baling wire out in the field with people who aren't really qualified to do that. Finally, from there, you've got the obviously the horrific margin erosion. The schedule's been blown, so you've probably missed if there were any bonuses on delivering early. That's not happening. There might be penalties for being late, and you're trying everything you can do to avoid liquidated damages because you're not hitting the time frame. So those are the things that if you have those issues, if these are pain points you are familiar with, while at the same time you're going, you know what? We really believe in our product. We believe in our solution. We believe in our team. We believe in our engineers. We don't understand why this keeps happening to us. Then yes, you found the right place. And then because of that, watching part 2 and part 3 of the videos may make sense for you. But if everything I've just said, you're going, that's got nothing to do with us. Save me some time, save yourself some time, and this isn't appropriate. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it was beneficial. And if you're still interested, then I look forward to seeing you on the next video, part 2. Thank you.